We're under Home, Alma, Training, Extended Training, Presentations and Documents, Digital. This is where all of the material for the 5 sessions which we'll be doing are located. Today, for example, we're on the first session. So we're going to be doing an introduction to title level collections. Then we're going to be talking about the universal viewer in the Internet Archive book reader. Session 2, the material is here. Session 3, the material is here. Session 4 and 5 is here. And then there's some supplementary material. I'm not going to be showing the presentation slide by slide. We'll be looking live at Alma. So I will download this just so we have it handy in case we want it, an introduction to title level collections. And let's start talking instead of starting to explain step by step what are title level collections, how are they related to Alma Digital. I want to just jump right in and take a look at examples of collections around the world, and then we'll start our description. So first, we're actually going to see 3 real examples. And the examples I'm looking at are not private information of any institution. This is something you can go into Google and do a search on. So if we go, for example, to the University of Haifa, Primo, just go into Google and write Library Catalog, University of Haifa. So they've got a link here called Digital Collections. And this link brings to the title level collections that we're going to be talking about. You can see we've got Archive and Research Institute, theses and dissertations, theater archives, etc., etc. And I'll go, for example, fragments of the Cairo Geniza. And then we've got images, and I can click on an image, and some images will require that I sign in. Some may be free. And here it says, it's not possible to view this during the COVID. And we'll see if we need to log in. If so, it'll bring us to the login page. No, this one we can see. And in this case, it brings us to a PDF. We'll just let that load for a moment, and then we'll move on. Okay, so I see the image, and in this case, I see a PDF. There are other cases, for example, if I click back here on the digital collection, and I go, for example, to Theater Archives, and I want to see the Camry Theater, and I want to go to this picture here, then it says, for full text, please connect via remote access or sign in. So this one here is blocked unless I'm logged in. And you see I click it, and I'm requested to log in. And we're going to be talking in the next session about access rights, whether a user needs to log in, whether a user needs to have a certain user group or come from a certain IP. But the point here is we have a organized set of collections. The collections can be hierarchical, we're going to see, that there can be more collections underneath the first collection. And the access to the content of those collections may be available for everybody or may be only for certain users. Now I'm at the National Taiwan University. Also have a link to digital collections. And these digital collections then appear here. They're still loading. There we go. When I put my mouse on, I get the description. The mouse over gives the description. We're going to see soon when we define our own collection, which we're going to do shortly, that we can put the description in the definitions of the collection. And for example, I'll click here on this one. Now I have sub-collections. When we looked a moment ago at Haifa, I clicked the first collection and immediately I had my digital objects. Now when I click the collection, instead of having the digital objects, I have more collections, sub-collections, a hierarchical setup. Now I went into that second level, and now I'm in another sub-collection, and now I can click one of these, and it will open. And in this case, I'm going to open it with what's called the Universal Viewer. We're going to look more closely soon at the Universal Viewer. And this one, as you see, is not requiring that I log in first. And there we go. Okay. Then we have another situation, RMIT University. We don't see the, let me close my Outlook. Sorry about that, everybody. I usually close that at the beginning. We don't want to get any incriminating messages. Okay. So here we don't see, oh, there we go, digital collections. And, okay, someone asked, why would I use the Universal Viewer instead of the Alma Viewer? We're going to get to the viewers in the second half of the session. Thanks for the question. So here I'm in the digital collections of RMIT. And again, I can go into, for example, image collections. And if I go into RMIT images and I go on to porcupine fish, for example, I will be requested to log in if I try to access this. It's not going to allow me here, log in to access this resource. So here it's behind a access rule that says, or access rights, that I need to log in. However, that's not on the level of the whole institution. It's on the level of the representation. We're going to talk more about what that means, the representation, but there are also, could be in the same institution, another image that allows me to automatically see it without logging in. Okay, so we've seen 3 different institutions where we have digital images. Sometimes I need to first log in, and sometimes I don't. And we've seen some that are hierarchical and some that are not hierarchical. And now I'm going to go into the environment that we're going to use here for our example, which is my demo environment. So here we are in Primo, and here we have collection discovery. And for example, we've got Flowers of Israel, the Painters Collection, the Feminist Studies, etc., etc. If I come into Flowers of Israel, I have 5 sub-collections. And on that level of the, what's called the top level collection, I also have 2 records. Let's see now in Alma where we see these collections. And you notice I mouse over and I've got the descriptions of each of the collections. So let's take a look here now in Alma. And I want to distinguish, make sure this is clear to everybody before we go on. We're talking now about title level collections. There are also, as you know, electronic collections. Electronic collections, which contain electronic portfolios, completely different entity. We're on title level collections. Now, every record which has digital inventory has to be associated with a title level collection. You can also have bibliographic records which have physical inventory as part of a title level collection, but that's optional. And if it's got digital inventory, it has to be part of a title level collection. And we're going to see that very shortly using an example. So if now we activate or access the title level collections, we'll come here to Manage Collections. And we'll see here the same collections which we see here in Primo. Flowers of Israel. Let's go back up to the top level. This is called the lobby page. So we've got Flowers of Israel, Painters Collection, Feminist Studies, Spot Good Food, Library and Information Science Scholarly Articles. Same here, Flowers of Israel, Painters, Feminist, Spot Good Food, and Library and Information Science Scholarly Articles. Now, within each of these collections, we can have sub-collections. And in order to be able to edit these, I need to have a role. Let's go take a look at that role. Here, here, and here. Roles. Role. Okay. In order to be able to do this edit, we need the collection inventory operator or the collection inventory operator extended. If I look at my user's roles, here I'm logged in as Hannah Wagner. And if we look at these roles, and I click add role just to be able to see a role, and we look for collection. There we are, collection inventory operator extended. And because of that, I can not only view, but I can also edit. And now we'll edit, and we're going to add a sub-collection. Okay, so now I see the 5 sub-collections. These are the same 5 sub-collections that I see here when I click Flowers of Israel. And I could now, as part of this session, start explaining each of these tabs and start showing where they appear in Primo. Instead, we're going to create a new sub-collection here, and that will give us the method and the way that we're able to explain to everybody what all the different parts are. So we've got now 5 sub-collections. We're going to create a new sub-collection, and just by chance, I have here a set of files which I'm going to add here. These are images of flowers that I photographed on April 29th. And we're going to make a new sub-collection using these. Let's do a view, extra large icons. We're going to add these to our collection. Here we go. All right, so first, we're going to say add sub-collection. The link is called add sub-collection because we're already looking at the sub-collections. If I had been at the top of the tree, the hierarchical tree, it's add top-level collections, because now I've got all of my top-level collections. Within each one, there's sub-collections, and each sub-collection can have another sub-collection. So here the link is add sub-collection. And I'm going to call this flowers photographed on April 29th, 2020. And I'm going to call this webinar session. That we're doing this on the webinar session, May 5, 2020. So this is the name of the collection. And whenever a title level collection is created, a corresponding bibliographic record is also created. That corresponding bibliographic record then gives us an anchor for ways to retrieve it in Discovery. For example, we can add there a subject, a note, a corporate name, whatever we'd like. So that's going to be the bibliographic record. The bibliographic record can be of different formats. We're going to take a look at our bibliographic record shortly. I just want to take a look at the chat box just in case there's something here. Okay, great. All right. So let's give the name of the collection is going to have the same name in our case as the title. And here I'm going to say, what is the description of this? This is a sub-collection created during the webinar on May 20th. No, it's May 5th. On May 5th. To show how it works. Okay. Thumbnail upload. Each collection, when we go into it, can have a thumbnail associated with it. We're going to see what that thumbnail does. You see on top that there's one image in the background, but we're going to see what that thumbnail does. And the thumbnail needs to be less than 100 KB. And I already saved one here. I'm going to go back into view details. I already saved here one to save our time. It's a thumbnail and it's 94 KB. All right. So, wrong icon. So we're going to add that now. Thumbnail upload. This is from this morning. This morning, if you were in the session, we did one on the Taipei 101 building. So today we're doing the flowers. This afternoon, I should say, we're doing the flowers. Okay. Here we are, flowers I photographed and the thumbnail. Okay, so here's the thumbnail. And the forms, we're going to talk about the forms, I believe, in the next 2 sessions. I believe it's not next week, but the week after. And now we'll save. And save. No, I'm not going to do save and continue because I want to stop and talk about something for a moment. Did another chat come in? Someone writes, I find that I am able to load digital files, but I am confused about the costs involved when our collections are not titles that already exist in Alma. Okay, we're going to be adding one that right now does not exist in Alma. I'm going to create it now in Alma, a title. So let's take a look here. These are the images I want to add. Now, I'm just going to give you a little background here. I actually know the fancy names of these flowers because I sent them into this group that is into flowers, and you can just send in the picture. There's also an app, and it tells you the fancy Latin name for them and everything else. But we're going to keep it simple right now. So let's take, for example, this image 5849. We're going to add the 5849 now. And I'm just going to call it a purple pointed flower or something. Let's do it. So the first thing, I'm going to catalog a new record. There's several ways to do this, but we're not doing a cataloging course now. We're focusing more on the digital part, but let's just catalog it from scratch. We could have done other methods, which in the later sessions, we're going to see how they work. And I'm going to take it from a template. And I've got a template already here in the Mark 21 shared, a digital JPG file new. Okay. Okay. And that will open up in a moment. And there it is. So let's just call this a purple flower with pointed branches. So this is going to be the bibliographic record, which corresponds to that picture, 5849. In the year, this is 2020. It's a still image, RDA content, computer RDA media. All that we'll say is fine. This will be the name of the collection. We don't have to put the name of the collection in there. I'm just putting it into the 520 field, which is a fairly popular thing among some institutions. I'm going to get rid of my 505 with a control F6. And F8, I'll add a 650. We'll take that from a controlled vocabulary Library of Congress. And I'll write here flowers, F3. And flowers. Okay, let's take flowers anatomy. Select. Great. And let's just throw one more in there. So I'll do an F8. I'll say 650. Second indicator 7. Subfield 2 GND. And this will be Bloomin'. Okay. Great. Let's take the Bloomin' Arfakiana. This one here, our Bloomin' Arfakiana. Select. Okay. So now we've got 2 subjects in there. We've got the title. Let's put here, let's switch this to a 100. And let's say here, we're just going to change this unique identifier, 2020. I usually put the date and 050. That's it, 2/20/05/05, May 5th. Okay. So now we've cataloged a bibliographic record, which will be associated now with that image. Every image is part of a representation. Just like when we have a physical item, we have a bibliographic record, then we have a holdings record, and then there are items associated with the holdings record. In the case of digital, we have a bibliographic record, then we have a digital representation, and then we have files related to the digital representation. So just like if I was now to open a item, I'd make a holdings record, so now I want to use a file, so I'm going to create a representation. So Alt-R or the icon, add a representation, and you'll see in the representation, I need to choose a collection. So I'll choose the collection. I'm going to choose select from list. It's mandatory because we said at the beginning, anytime I have digital inventory, it has to be associated with a collection. Now there's the thumbnail that we put in a little while ago. Right here's the thumbnail. And that's, you can see that's the thumbnail. You'll see there it's a yellow flower with the nice green around it. And here, if I go look for my thumbnail, here's the thumbnail that we loaded. That's the picture there that we see here. Okay, so let's choose that. I'm not going to go too in-depth here, but I could be syncing with a remote system here, in which case I would choose remote. A usage type is typically master or derivative. A very high quality is usually a master. A derivative is usually a lower quality, which loads fast. A public note, this is a pointy branched flower, so be careful if you touch. Okay, and I can grab this file now either from a folder, which I can define on the server, we'll save that for another day, or directly upload. And we're going to directly upload, add file. I just want to verify what is that one I want to take now. There it is, 5849 right here. So we're going to take 5849, add files, 5849, there she is, and open. So now it's loading that. And we've got it. Now we don't want the label to be 5849. We're going to call this a beautiful purple flower with sharp branches. Okay. And we'll even try to spell that properly. Okay, so now we've added one. Now, so we have at least a decent amount to play with here. We're going to add one more. We're going to see different ways in the next 2 weeks of adding these representations, and even end users can add them as well. Staff mediated or end user can deposit, but we're doing it, I'm going to call it the old-fashioned method. Let's say a traditional way where I catalog a bibliographic record and associate. So let's add one more. Let's pick a nice one here. This is a nice one. This is an interesting one. It's a flower growing right out of a tree. Very interesting one. 5862. These are real pictures, by the way. It's not that I didn't take them off the of Google Images or something. These are really photographs. So 5862. So we'll very quickly do one more. I'll just duplicate this existing one. It'll be fastest. And we'll say here, a flower growing right off the bark of a tree. All right. Save. We're not even going to play around anymore with the, do I want to view the, no. Okay. Is there a way to batch load or edit? Great question, someone asked. There is a way to batch load. Right here, how to import bibliographic records to a digital collection. Maybe they'll let me, I'll talk to the training team. If they let me do a 6th session, because this is 5 weeks already, maybe we'll do a 6th session on how to import bibliographic records to a digital collection. But yes, this is a PowerPoint presentation on it. Maybe we'll do a 6th session and we'll talk about that as well. It is possible. Okay, let's go on. So I just want to change my 035 here. My methodology is to always make them unique and know when I play them. Okay. Now again, we're going to add the representation. Add representation. Add representation. Alt-R. Alt-R is always the best. Then you don't have to go start looking for the icons. Now, because I already used this one, it's in my recent ones. Here you can see the one we used in today's morning session on the Taipei 101. So we'll grab that flowers photographed April 29th, et cetera, and we'll add this file. I forgot which number it was. We'll just look here. We're going to add 5862. There we are. Beautiful. And after that loads, we're going to change this. A flower growing right off a tree. All right. Save. Now, we've got 2 titles with digital inventory associated with that sub-collection. I'm going to release all these records, and I'm going to take a brand new record. Now, first I'm going to search here, then we're going to talk. Flowers may search. Now, it's also possible to take any bibliographic records and associate them with the collection. Someone asked if we can do PDFs. Yes, we can also add PDFs. In fact, one of the examples we saw at Taipei University was a PDF, and I have an example of a PDF actually. So I'm just going to take this record. I just imported something as an example, and instead of calling it brother to brother, we'll call it flower to flower. Just so I have a record, which we're going to be able to associate this also with our collection. And I'll save this. So I just imported a bibliographic record called Flower to Flower. It was called Brother to Brother, and I changed it. Now I'm going to add a holdings record and an item. Okay, barcode and save. Okay. Okay. So now I have a bibliographic record. Now, we did not associate this bibliographic record yet with the title level collection. Now we're going to do that. So let's go now. Look, see what happened to our collection. Manage collections. Here's the Flowers of Israel. Let's go in. Here's our new sub-collection. I see it's already 5:31. Time flies. And now I've got these 2 records, and I'm going to add the other one, which is Brother to Brother. So I'm going to click Add Title. There's many ways to do it. I could do it also from inside the title. Add title. I'm going to search for that brother to, actually, it's called Flower to Flower. It was called Brother to Brother, and then I renamed it. There we are. Now it's got physical inventory, but I'm going to take this one select it, and add the title. Yes, I want to proceed. So now I have 3 titles in this sub-collection. And they should be discoverable within 15 minutes in Primo. Now let's take a look at what we've got in the various areas. General. So we've got the name, we've got the description, which will appear in Primo. Let's go take a look at what we've got in Primo now. It takes 15 minutes. I don't have any promises that it's already going to be there, but we'll take a look already. Not yet. Okay, fine. Let's go on. Then, in fact, let's take one that's already in Primo, just so we can show how different parts of it appear. Manage collections. And we'll go to bulbs. We got bulbs, we got annuals. Okay, so what do we got here? And here, I'm also going to go to bulbs. Bulbs. So you see when I put my mouse on, it says bulbous plants represent 11% of the flora, etc., etc. And if I go here, I see the description. This is what appears when I do the mouse over. This is the description we just saw a moment ago. The thumbnail we already saw when we searched inside Alma. We also see that thumbnail when we look here up on top. You see these white petals with the nice yellow in the middle. That's this thumbnail here. Let's go on. And we're going to talk about the forms in another 2 sessions. Then we've got, there's no sub-collections in this sub-collection. We haven't gone down 3 levels. We have our title level, and then we have the ones below it. Then we've got the title list. These are the titles that are in this collection. So we've got 4 of them. 3 of them are digital, and 1 of them is a book, a physical item with a resource type book. And here they are. We've got the 3 images, and we've got the flowers of Israel. This is a beauty, the Sternbergia. Let's just pop into the Sternbergia for a minute. Isn't that a nice picture? Now the viewer, the universal viewer, we're going to see that later, but it's nice for high resolution pictures to go right into certain sections. You can see the detail on the bottom here. You can do all kinds of things. You can share it, you can download it, but let's wait on that. But I couldn't resist just popping into the Sternbergia for a moment. Okay, so these are the titles that are associated with the collection. Discovery, we can define here which pictures we want to appear. Here it's taking by default from the images in the collection. We could hard code which ones we want to appear here. And then we've got the history, which is everything which was done on this collection. The description was added here. The description was changed. The name was changed, and it says who did it and when. That's the auditing, what we call. Now, in addition to finding these collections like we did via the resources manage collections, we can also find these by searching here collections. For example, if I type here bulbs, I get the flowers of Israel because it has a sub-collection called bulbs. And I get the bulb. So I search directly for the collection here. Also, if I search one of these bibliographic records, for example, title that contains Sternbergia. Sternbergia. I just have to spell it properly. There we go. So I also see here the collection. And I can click the collection here and also go view it. Now that collection, we said when we created our collection, what was our collection called? May. It had May 5th in it. Here we are. So this, we said, contains a bibliographic record. And if we click Edit Record, we'll see the bibliographic record that was automatically created for it. Now, it only gave it a title. It's got a certain 008 that it gives it, a certain LDR that it gives it. And now, for discovery purposes, I can add all kinds of other fields here. For example, we'll add photography. I got a 650 F3 to see what Library of Congress has on photography. Sorry, I don't know how to spell very well. There we are. So I'll take photography, for example. Maybe I'll add a subfield X, flowers, and I'll add a geographic subdivision. Okay, so I've added a subject, and then that aids for someone who's doing a search. So if someone now, let's release all records, and if someone were to come to the collection here and say flowers photography, and he could even search, or she could even search subjects of a collection and find it. So it makes it discoverable. Let me just take a look at the chats. The chats are coming in. So you could hide the collection and still allow the files to display in Primo. That's correct. I could hide the collection and have the files appear in Primo. And in fact, let's take a look at something. If my collection, does my collection already appear? My collection does not appear yet. However, let's just see something here. If I were to come and do a library search and search for purple pointed. There it is. So I am seeing already the image, even though my collection hasn't yet become discoverable. It will become discoverable, you trust me, you know. Takes 15 minutes or so, but the image is already here. So this is the one we cataloged just a short while ago, a purple flower with sharp branches. There it is. Here's the universal viewer. We'll pop into the universal viewer, but I don't want to go too far on it. Look at this. We can flip it right. We can look at that. We can go, no, that's a nice example. The universal viewer allows you to really get into the detail here. Look at that. It looks like that might even be the beginning of a spider web on there. I took this very early in the morning when it was still misty, but I think that's a spider web beginning. So this is a nice example, actually, of the universal viewer, but we're going to wait on the universal viewer. And it's already 1740, so we're going to move on to the next part of this session, which is the viewers. Now, for example, when I just came along here and searched for a purple flower with pointed branches, you can see that I see 3 different viewers. Each viewer has its own unique attributes. Now, there are future plans to combine everything into the Alma viewer. I don't want to get into full roadmap plans. I'm showing what we've got now. And in any case, what we've got now will also be what we'll have in the future. It may just be combined into one viewer. Now, let me just make sure everybody is still with me. I see actually everybody is still with me because a lot of people are sending in chats. We got 139 people in today. Wow. Let's just see who we've got with us. 139 people. That's quite a crowd. Participants. Who's in the event? How do I see all the people? I don't even know how to see. Oh, view all attendees. Okay. Who do we got with us? Whoa, all over the place. Alicia's with us. Hello, Alicia. Okay. And Carolyn's with us. Hello, Carolyn. Daniel's with us. Hi, Deb. Dean is with us. Okay. So Lee Tran is with us. So thanks, everyone, for joining. Okay, so let's go on. So now let's talk about those viewers. And I'm sorry I can't relate to every single question that comes in, but within the 5 sessions, if you attend all 5 sessions, you'll really get a nice background of the whole situation. So these 3 viewers that I see here, if we come into Alma and we go to configuration and fulfillment, underneath discovery interface display logic, we have viewer services. And these are the 3 viewer services that we've got. If I were, for example, to deactivate the universal viewer and come back here, and I want to look for one here. I'm sorry, I'm going to put it in another language just to find it. I'm going to look for, okay, this one here, Prunus, Prunus, the Prunus dulcis. This is a real beauty. If I were to come in here now, I do not see the universal viewer because here I deactivated it. If I activate that now, and then I come back here and I search again for the Prunus dulcis, and I available online. So now I do see it. Now, so I see it if it's activated, but there's more than that. Each of these viewers, I can define which files I see it for. And those are in the service availability rules. So here, for example, I have activated that I see it for the JPG. That's because when I add a rule, I can say add parameter, and then I can say I can do it by the material type of the bibliographic record, the representation files, which we're going to use, or the usage type of the representation. And here I can say the representation files equals or contains, for example, .jpg, which was my file. And then after I define it, I can say display yes or no, true or false. So you can see here, I have the JPG here, edit. The JPG is active. Therefore, I can see the file, a JPEG file with the universal viewer. If I disable that, like I just did now, and I do that same search again, and I go available online, then now, by the way, next week we're going to be talking about someone needs to log in to see this. Now I do not see the universal viewer. Now I'm going to come in here. I'm going to activate that, save, do the same search again. Valuable online, and there she is, universal viewer. Now let's talk about the universal viewer. Then we're going to get to the Internet Archive book reader. Okay, viewer services. Universal viewer is a nice one for high resolution pictures. So first of all, I have here an option, display original image download link. When I have that displayed and I go into the universal viewer, then when I click here on the bottom left to download, I have this option here, original source 266 megabyte. I can choose that and download. And that downloads the file, and then depending on how my browser works and everything else, it'll download. Here I can see it downloaded right here, the Prunus dulcis. So I downloaded that to my browser. If that was not clicked and I saved, let's make sure, not that I don't trust Alma, it's not clicked and I save, and someone comes along here and again searches for the Prunus dulcis, and available online, and universal viewer, and download. Now I don't have that link to download the original. It might be for whatever reason. I don't want to get into anything legal or otherwise, but the institution might not want the option there. In fact, some people didn't, and that's why the option came in here, yes or no. So I just put it back. What else can we do with the universal viewer? So we saw that we can download. We can download by resolution or the original. We can share. Here I can take it like this. Now I want to show something interesting. Here I'm taking it. I haven't, what's the word? Gone in depth here, zoomed in. I haven't zoomed in. And if I take this URL and I come over here to another browser and just paste it, then I get what I had there. That really is a nice photo. The sun was behind me here. And then if I come here, and now I can zoom in. I'm going to zoom in with a click of the mouse, and you'll see why I could do with a click of the mouse. Look at that nice resolution. This is just waiting for a bee to come and pollinate. Look at that. So healthy. And now I'm going to come here and share. And it's still bringing me, oops, let that load. Now the zoomed in, different than what it was before. Okay, now close. Now I'm going to come out. Why was I able to click and automatically zoom in like this? I'm clicking my mouse, and now I'm scrolling my mouse out. Because here we have definitions, settings. Well, we can say mouse click to zoom, navigator enabled. I can come and I can choose certain parts of the image. I can click it here to zoom in and zoom out. And I can rotate. That's the universal viewer, primarily nice for high resolution images. Now, let's take a look at another one. Actually, before we take a look at another one, somebody had asked about PDFs. So if I come here to my collection discovery, and I come to Library and Information Science Scholarly Articles, I have Structural Equivalence in Library Information Science Journal Network in Taiwan. Taiwan is a very advanced country when it comes to library and information science. A lot of very advanced studies come from there. And here we have a PDF. Now notice here, all I see is the Alma viewer. I don't see the digital book archive viewer that we saw for the flowers. And I also don't see the universal viewer. I only see the Alma viewer. This resource is accessible to logged in users only. So we're going to log in right now just to see that. We're going to, let me just get rid of this thing here, sign in. Sign in with a random user. And collection discovery, library and information scholarly articles, and here we are. Now I can log in. I've got the all rights reserved. We're going to talk about the copyrights that I can see next week. Copyright statement close. And now I view the PDF. So why was I able to view this, but only with a PDF? Because if we come back into Alma, that PDF, I was able to view only with the Alma viewer, not with the universal viewer, not with the Internet Archive book reader, which we're going to look at in a moment. because in Alma, in the viewer services, the universal viewer does not have a definition here to be able to view with a PDF. And the default is no. There's always a default rule, just like all other rules, is false. The Internet Archive book reader, which we're going to look at very shortly, same thing. It's not defined true for any PDFs, and the default is false. But for the Alma viewer, viewer services, we do allow it for PDF. Because here, the default is true. So it's everything else. Everything not defined in one of the other viewers displays here, and that's why I was able to see that article about Taiwan after I logged in as Alicia Khan. Okay. So someone had asked earlier about the PDFs. If that answered your question, great. If not, you can ask another question. Okay, now we're going to continue. And we're going to go to the Digital Archive book reader. Now, let's first look at an example of the Digital Archive book reader. Let me come back into Primo. And I'll do the collection discovery. And I'll go into the flowers. All right. And here we've got the wildflowers of the Holy Land. And if I click there, I'm going to view it now with the Internet Archive book reader right here. And then we're going to explain how it happened, what I'm showing you. I see we got 6 minutes left. I always say there's never enough time in these sessions. I always say the next time it's going to be an hour and a half, and it's always an hour. Okay, here we go. Now, very nice. Look, I can click here, and it's as if it turns the pages. And I can also do a free text search on the text of these pictures. For example, here it says white mustard, Sinapis alba, which blooms in the spring, is one of the most common annuals. If I go to a completely different page and I type here white mustard, here it is down here. It shows me exactly where that appears. It gives me the text. And if I click that link, it brings me to the page. If I type here bulbs, enter, drop these 5 signs, and if I click them, I see where it is that the word bulbs appear, and it brings me right to the page. How did it automatically be able? Here's the Sternbergia again that we saw before in the. That's really a beautiful one, the Sternbergia. How did it know to index bulbs or white mustard, etc.? Let's take a look. Let's go to that record in Alma. Too many windows open here. Let me just take a drink. Okay, so if we say here wildflowers, and we go to the representation, what happened here? These are the files of the representation. In our example, we added 1 file, and it was a pure picture. It wasn't a file with text in it as well. But when there's a file that also has text in it, we can full text index it. Now, these files here on the right, under the full text, show the full text of the image. I want to first look at the image. I'll choose a random one. I'm just going to scroll, number 19. Okay. I'm going to do deliver. Deliver allows me to see how is an end user going to see this record. So we're going to look at the image. It's showing up. Let's just give it a minute here. I'll download. In fact, it'll open up quicker. There we go. So here we go. This is number 19. It's one of the first flowers to bloom in the winter, perhaps the most dramatic of all. So I've got a flower. Here it is. The deliver worked as well. One of the first flowers to bloom in the winter. Here, I've got the plain text of the full text. So one of the first flowers to bloom in the winter. It brings the text. How did that happen? There's two options. Number one is from the actions to do full text. That will create a full text file, which gets delivered together with the image. Another option is to create a whole set, and this is all in the PowerPoint, so you can read on your own. Under Resources, Run a Job, Admin, Run a Job. There's a job to extract the full text. Extract full text. So this job takes a set. I don't even remember what I called my set. But I can take any of these digital sets. It looks like I once created a set wildflower. Yeah. So you can take a set, and then it automatically indexes all of those images in that set. And that's why when we were here and went into that image here and viewed it in the Internet Archive book reader, we were able to do a search and search inside this book. Now, one of them was said winter, the one we just looked at. So here we are, winter, and there's the image we saw. Okay, and that brought us already to 17:59 local time. Time really does fly when you're having fun. I'm sorry we're out of time. And someone asked, are there viewer options for audio video formats? Yes, there are. Is it possible to replace this collection record with a fuller record already existing in Alma? Yes, it is. You can search for another record and overlay. So that brings us to the end. We're going to be posting the recording of this. I hope everyone comes to the next sessions. Like we said, we've got 5 sessions all planned here, and we got 128 participants right now. I hope everyone comes to all of them because they're all going to tie in together. By the time we get to the last session, we'll just keep saying, hey, you remember in the previous session we mentioned this and we mentioned this. So I hope to see everyone soon, and thanks for joining us. Have a nice day.